First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Welcome back to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. As always, I say it every time, but I appreciate you joining us. We are live streaming here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, and we bring you all kinds of different coverage and topics and segments from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. every day. Right now, though, we are talking about the flooding in Harney County and Boise. We've been covering that here throughout the afternoon, and we want to talk about really what has caused this flooding. What were the weather systems that make this so unique for some of the worst floods in 70 years, and what's on the horizon? And to do so, I'm very happy to be joined by Michael Canton, meteorologist with National Weather Service over in Boise. And thanks for having some time to talk to us today to go through this. We're seeing some of the images and the videos that are coming out of just what's been going on, not just today, but over the last several days and even longer with this flooding. And, I think it'd be good for everybody to just get an understanding of what led us to this moment.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Greg, for the opportunity. Appreciate that. It's been an interesting year for us, and for Central Oregon in particular, for the Burns area, the mountains to the north. It's been a very active winter. I know that much of the state of Oregon has seen quite a bit of precipitation, and it's basically the perfect storm of that happening this year, where even right now, the snowpack north of Burns up in the mountains there is over 200% of normal. And so we see is a very, very deep snow in those areas. And what we ran into a little over a week ago was a warm period, which many of us enjoyed, but that did in fact melt off a lot of the lower level snow and the snow right in and around Burns, which sent a surge of water down through the Silvies River Basin and right into the city.
Wow, so yeah, 200% of normal. I'm not going to expect you to have the historical data up there, but that does seem like that's pretty unprecedented, wouldn't it be, for 200%?
Yeah, well, right now the values in some of the snow, we call them snow-tell sites. These are instrument setups that specifically measure snow depth and the amount of water in that snow. Some of those values are right at their all-time record high. So as far as in the period of record, so unprecedented and all-time, probably not. We don't know that much, but at least in the recorded history, some of these are right at their record levels for sure.
And then you have that rapid, the nicer temperatures, which, yes, I admit I enjoyed those as well when those were happening, but causing all of that snow melt. And so that's what's really been causing a lot of the flooding. Has it been anything else, any other kind of weather system as far as coming in, or it really was that warming that's kind of at the root of this?
Yeah, it was mainly the warming and the situation that was on the ground, right, actually in and around the city of Burns at the time of when that warming happened as well. There was quite a bit of snow on the ground just right in the city, in between 6 to 8 inches or so on the ground. That in turn melted along with the water that was coming down the slope towards them, and so the ground became saturated ahead of the flush of water from the mountains. The water table was already high. All of that extra water comes down out of the mountains and really kind of compounded the issue. And what they saw were values that reached, as far as feet above, at the river gauge above the town, at 14.76 feet, which is just a half a foot below the all-time record of 15.2 feet, which happened in 1952. So near record flows coming down the Silvies River into that area. And what we've seen and heard from emergency management there as well is some of that water overtopped some berms and dikes that were set in place to help channel the water away from town, and it overtopped that because of that level and led to a lot of that in-town flooding that you're seeing.
Gotcha. Yep, that makes sense. So just there's so much, coming down there, and that also, thanks for explaining that too. Just the water table was so high. But it sounds like there's nowhere for that water to go, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, the way it's designed for folks who've never been there, the Silvies River has kind of been channeled in a way that when it does flood, which happens typically every year, every couple of years, at least at some level, it flushes south of town into the agricultural land. It's very flat out there, and the farmers actually use it to raise up the grass and the wheat and other things that they're growing out there for the cattle to eat on. And so it's actually beneficial most years. This time it just overwhelmed the system and got too high, worked its way into the areas that you're seeing impacted.
And as far as temperatures right now, can you help us understand what's on the way for the people there in Harney County and Burns?
Yeah, so what we're seeing now is that the river is on its way down. That trend will continue, and what we're seeing is an area of low pressure. We're all seeing those impacts now with some kind of cooler weather, some showers. That's going to work through over the next couple of days. And maybe produce actually some more snow for those mountains that are already well above normal. They're north of Burns, but light precipitation for the valley areas of the river should continue to drop. That will move east of the area as we get into late in the weekend, into the weekend, a ridge of high pressure building in with temperatures working up to maybe 10, 15 degrees above normal again. So we're going to see a period of where that river is going to drop. Probably get below flood stage at 12 feet here in the next couple of days, but then rise back up again as we head into the weekend as those warming temperatures come in. So the good folks there in northern Harney County are going to see impacts for several days to come.
Okay, and then after that, well, I guess it's hard to predict what's going to happen after that, but I would imagine this is going to melt down a bit of that snow from what it is even at now, right?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to see a melt off, and a lot of the snow that's remaining is a fairly high elevation snow, which is going to take some time still to get ripe enough, is the word for it, to be able to melt quickly. So it'll probably be a more gradual melt off this time around, but still will cause that river to rise. And that trend, we're heading deeper into spring every day. So that snow is going to come down. Right now, there's over 20 inches of snow water equivalent up in those sites. So that means that if you melted that snow right now, it would be as if you're getting 20 inches of rain. So all that water is just sitting up there, and it's going to take time to work its way down.
Gotcha. Well, hey, thank you very much, for having some time to talk to us and go through this. Anything else that you think is important just for people, especially in that area, to know?
Yeah, I think it's important to know that the impacts are you'll see some improvement, but you're going to see impacts for at least the next week. I think a lot of the water that's in town is being pumped out. They're doing a great job. A lot of folks around the state helping out as well and getting resources there. But there's going to be impacts to come, so folks need to hang in there. And for those who are thinking about going by and traveling, it's a dangerous situation. There are issues in the water, and there's issues on the roadways. So just going to steer clear, let the emergency personnel take care of the folks that are there.
All right, thank you very much, Michael, for having time to talk to us and joining us here today, and letting us know, giving everybody just a better idea of what caused this and what's on the way, so people can prepare and be ready for that. Thanks so much for joining us.
Of course, no problem.
And for those of you watching, we are live here, and I appreciate all of you joining our coverage. And again, we're here in the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. We have more coverage coming up on our 4 p.m. news, so you can watch that on the Fox 12 Oregon app, or however you're finding our show. Thanks for doing so. We do, it's great to have you on here, and we try to bring you as much information as we can between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m.